And we are live. So, welcome to episode 170 of An American Werewolf in New Jersey. I am the American Werewolf. So, for some reason, they decided to give David Gordon Green the keys to the kingdom. And I'm sure if you're watching this, you know who David Gordon Green is. He is the recent director of this latest Halloween trilogy, of which I actually own the first movie. I saw it in the theaters. I was overseas at the time, so any opportunity to see a Hollywood movie, I took advantage of. And when I first saw it, I was like, meh. It wasn't horrible. It wasn't the worst thing I ever saw. Far from it. It was okay. It was okay. From there, though, it just kind of all went downhill. And they had another. Let me stick to this for just a second. This movie could have been really great. You could have trimmed 15 minutes out of it. I reviewed this some time ago, and I said this was one of those movies that could have really been something, but little did I know when I was watching it that they were planning to make a trilogy of it. And so that's where, things started to sort of circle the drain. You had characters that really had nothing to do. Allison, the character, for example, in that first movie has absolutely nothing to do. The father, the son-in-law of Jamie Lee Curtis, Allison's father, had nothing to do. You probably could have trimmed 15 minutes out of it and made a bitchin' raw grindhouse kind of Halloween movie. You had Will Patton in there. So there was a lot of potential there. Will Patton's a great actor. You could have made him just this mean, sort of sheriff, or, maybe somebody with a military background, who understands combat. And then, you drop Michael in the middle of Haddonfield and, just let it play out. It would have been great. Now, that kind of is what we got with Halloween H2O. So I'm only sticking with Halloween it's been 2 minutes in, and that's 2 minutes too long talking about Halloween. But I'm laying the background for David Gordon Green. First one was Men. Second movie was, I couldn't believe it. It was so bad that I refused to watch the third movie, which, from what I understand, I haven't missed much. But somehow, that's the thing about horror. You don't really need huge budgets. And horror is having kind of a resurgence. And so that these movies you can make with $10 million or $15 million or something like that, can make, $100 million, or, they can make a lot more money than these big bloated CGI things. So someone gave him the keys to the kingdom, like I first said, and they've decided to give him another trilogy, and this time for The Exorcist, which is, that's kind of the brass ring when you stop to think about it. But then I did stop to think about it for a second, and really think about it, and I'd say The Exorcist as a franchise, coming up on 50 years now. This is the 50th year of The Exorcist, the first one dropping in 73, is batting about 500. 500 after 50 years is a lot better than many other franchises who probably are not quite that old. Unless you start to get into James Bond or, Godzilla movies or something like that. But 50 years, not so bad. Not so bad. We've got, and I have quite I'm a fan of The Exorcist. The Exorcist may be my favorite horror movie of all time. It's right up there, with a more recent film, but we're talking about The Exorcist. We've got the original film. The classic. You know what it's all about. It's a perfect film on so many different levels. I love it. It's so good, I never watch it because, unlike many people, if I really love a movie, I don't want to watch it too often so that it becomes familiar. I hope that makes sense, but that's how I look at it. Some people love their favorite movies. They love to watch them all the time. I'm just the opposite. We've got the second movie, Exorcist II, The Heretic. And I had recently purchased this, and you can find a used copy on Amazon or just about anywhere for a couple of bucks. The production company, Warner Brothers, I mean, they basically said that they were interested, and they weren't interested in making a great movie. They were interested in making a cheap movie, capitalizing on the success of the 1973 movie. This comes out 4 years later in 77. Friedkin's no longer attached. You've got John Borman, but you've got a great cast. Linda Blair comes back. You've got Richard Burton. You've got Max von Sydow. He comes back. You've got James Earl Jones. You've got some really, really great people in here, and it's not good. At the time, I think many people considered it like the worst movie ever made. Those people are probably, wherever they are in the next life, probably laughing their asses off if they've seen some of the shit that's come out since then. And there is a scene in here between Burton and James Earl Jones that lasts for maybe 5 minutes, but it is just magic. This is the movie that could have been, but it wasn't. You've got the third movie, Exorcist 3, which here it is. This is, I would say, a loyal conclusion to, or adaptation, or a loyal sequel to the first film, written and directed by William Peter Blatty, who wrote the novel The Exorcist, and then later wrote what I would consider to be a sequel, Legion. It's got the great George C. Scott and perhaps Brad Dourif's greatest performance, loosely connected to the first movie. It's fantastic. It falls apart a little at the end, with Warner Brothers insisting that there be a exorcism scene, which isn't in the book, but they did it, and it's not terrible. It's not terrible. I've owned it on VHS. I've owned it on DVD. Now I own it on Blu-ray with the Blatty cut, his original cut, which, they just kind of spliced together with what available materials they had. And, we just covered it recently. I think we gave it 3.5 to 4 stars out of 5, most of us that were on that panel. So not a terrible movie by any stretch of the imagination. I do not have Exorcist at the beginning because it really is terrible. But what I do have is Dominion, the prequel to The Exorcist, which I actually took a 3-hour bus ride one Friday. I took a day off of work. This was back in 2004, something along those lines. Took a 3-hour bus to New York City because it was only playing at that time in New York and LA. It's more of an art film with Stellan Skarsgård playing Father Marin, set immediately after World War II in Africa. I don't exactly understand if it's canon or not, but it's not bad. And it's an interesting concept in terms of the possession, in that you're being asked, what would you do if you could undo the thing that you felt most guilty about in life? So you have to think about coming off of World War II. Probably a lot of people did things that they're not advertising. It's not a bad film. If there's another Exorcist, I'm not thinking of it, but Eric and I right now are covering season 1 of Fox's series, The Exorcist, and it is just slamming. I don't exactly understand if it's canon, and I won't get into it too much because Eric's a first-time viewer of this series, and if he's in the chat, I don't want to give away the spoilers. We're more than halfway through, but it slaps, especially that first season. The first season with Gina Davis and Alan Ruck, and you're meeting 2 new priests that are exorcists. It's just fucking great. Sharon Gless is in it. It's good stuff. So it's hit or miss. It's hit or miss with The Exorcist. When it does hit, it's really fucking good. Now we've got a trilogy, and I don't know what to make of it. I always say that most of the time I'm not wrong, but I don't mind being wrong because I want to see a good movie. I want to see a good movie. I want it to be good. This movie is going to be released, I think, on October 13th, and I'm curious because I've heard so little about it. They're not dropping much, and of course, right now we're in the middle of a writer's strike. It's been filmed, and so I've got a little bit of information on it here, and let's see what's what. I've got this article from IndieWire. And it says CinemaCon scared shitless by Exorcist the Believer. And that is the name of the film. That's what it's going to be called, Exorcist the Believer. And let's see what it says. This has been a little bit. There's not a lot of, like I said, there's not a lot of information. This is from April 26th. So this is over 4 weeks ago. CinemaCon was possessed by some serious scares with the first footage from David Gordon Green's upcoming sequel to The Exorcist. A first look at the film, which is officially called The Exorcist Believer, is a direct sequel. So this is film canon. Direct sequel to William Friedkin's record-making 1973 original, and was revealed during Universal Pictures' Slate presentation during this week's convention in Las Vegas at Caesar's Palace, introduced by producer Jason Blum and director David Gordon Green. The film is the first of 3 new movies intended for viewers. So I don't know if they signed on for 3, but the intention is 3. I suppose a lot will depend on how much money it makes, with Believer hitting screens October 13th. The original based on the book by William Peter Blatty, spawned 2 sequels, The Heretic with Linda Blair as Reagan, and Exorcist 3 without her, and 2 prequels, The Beginning and Dominion. We've gone through that. The new film is indie turned studio director David Gordon Green's latest horror foray after helming the most recent Halloween trilogy, which he's moving on from. They're not really giving any sort of praise to the Halloween trilogy. It's just a passing thing. And I think that kind of tells me a lot. This Exorcist alters the continuity of the past sequels and is meant to follow Friedkin's Best Picture nominee. So I guess this is going to be another thing that David Gordon Green does, like he did with Halloween. He's just going to erase all of the other movies and say it doesn't really matter, just like in all the Halloweens, even though we had like 10 movies after the original and we shouldn't have. Those don't matter. This is the one that matters. Right now, I'll tell you now, I don't like that. Because, like I said, in listing through these, there have been several good movies here that I feel are worthwhile of the canon. And so to just kind of come in and say, well, those movies don't count anymore, it reeks of BS. I don't have a good feeling about it. But let's go on with the article. Leslie Odom Jr. Is joined in the cast by Ellen Burstyn. So Ellen Burstyn is coming back, Chris McNeil. And in the recent series that I just listed on Fox, they had Chris McNeil coming in, played by Sharon Glass from the old Tiny and Cagney and Lacey cop series. So we've seen Chris McNeil in 2016 come back. But I guess, again, I don't like that this guy does this. And it would be different if he did it and did a good job. And I'm not saying that these won't be good, but based on what we saw or what I saw in 2 out of 3 of the Halloween films, we'll see. Reprising her 1973 role of Chris McNeil, mother of Reagan, a victim of demonic possession, Odom Jr. plays the father of a possessed child who chases down Burstyn's character for help. The trailer shows, and we haven't seen this trailer. So this is a trailer that was on the con. I haven't seen it anywhere else. If you're, in the chat or something, you can DM me on Twitter or something. If you find a trailer, send it to me. I'll be happy to put up a stream to show it or to talk about it, that kind of thing. The trailer shows Odom's own child covered in blood and making a scene, walking down the aisle of a church during a communion service, screaming the body and the blood. Then we see Burstyn face to face with the demon and greeted by saying, "We've met before." I wonder what it is that what would convince them to what would convince Ellen Burstyn to come back? Is it just the money? Is it that she really liked what she saw? Combination of both? Who knows? Blum said quite simply over the film in his introduction, "It's awesome." Oh boy. And he spoke about how he wanted to do The Exorcist. He wanted to do with The Exorcist what was done with Halloween. That doesn't give me a good feeling. honoring the original while bringing the horror into the modern age. Also here, Ann Dowd, Raphael, blah, 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 blah. Universal and its streaming service Peacock scooped the rights to a new trilogy of Exorcist films in 2021 for a cool $400 million. Holy shit. These movies are going to have to make a lot of money. $400 million, 3 films for a trilogy, probably looking at, well, it's going to be probably at least that amount in marketing. Oh boy, Circle the Sale Frequent tweeted, "There's not enough money or motivation in the world to get me to do this." Wow. So $400 million for 3 Exorcist films. Freaking having no interest at all. Yeah. Holy shit. Hold on a second. We've got Eric here. He said, "Hey, what's going on, man? This will be an interesting episode from you. What's happening?" And Eric and I are covering Fox's The Exorcist, and we're really enjoying it. Sometimes it's okay to say that's enough. You know, we did a good job and we can end it, but $400 million. So this is going to have to fucking slap. $400 million. Echo Cero's here. What's happening, man? And he says 400 million. Holy moly. Yeah, that's one way to look at it. I mean, 400. So this is it's going to have to be a trilogy that probably has to clear $1 billion between the 3 movies. I'd say it will have to make 300 million per or something like that. And if this first one, it better take off like a bottle rocket. I mean, damn, that's really something. I got some interesting feedback. Hold on a second, because there's a couple of things that I've been doing, and I've been running these, and I asked some people in the stream, you know, what do you think? What's going to happen? On Twitter, we took a poll, and it says, hold on a second, where are you? It said, what'll happen when David Gordon Green's The Exorcist Believer drops? The final result of the poll basically said, not sure. The winner was not sure at 37%, 38%. Second place says the options were it's going to slap, it'll suck, but it'll make money. Third choice was it'll suck and make no money. And the final choice was not sure. The winner of the poll was everyone saying basically they're not sure what's going to happen here. Followed by 34.5% saying it'll suck, but it's going to make money. That's probably a reasonable assumption because people are going to be curious. And I'm sure that opening weekend is going to be big for them. And then as we see a lot in the films now, the decline in the second week, a lot of the time, unless you've got like a Top Gun Maverick or something along those lines, the drop off in the second week tends to be significant. So this movie better hold on. So yeah, second place was it's going to suck, but it's going to make money. 17% said, hey, it's going to slap. Okay, that would be nice. That would be nice. I run a horror channel. I like to talk about good movies. It would be great if it does. And then 10% says it'll suck and make no money, which is always a possibility because if the first one tanks, I don't know. I mean, do they continue to make movies or do they just cut their losses if the first one flops? I'll have to look at some of the figures from Halloween. I'm sure those movies made money, but yeah. One of the other things that I got though out of this was, this from the Disc Father. And he basically says that, now the Disc Father, he's got a pretty cool Twitter page, and he saw an advanced screening. And again, this is from May 12th. So this is from a little over 2 weeks ago. Sorry, y'all, but The Exorcist Believer is bad. Severe pacing issues. Overall, not very scary. Bloated. Script could have been tighter. Hopefully reshoots, edits can save this by release. The problem with that is we're in the middle of a writer's strike. We are in the middle of a writer's strike. And so there can't be any revisions to the scripts. There can't be any reshoots. What I should have put in the poll, and maybe I'll put up another poll later, is are they going to kick the can on this? I mean, we'll see how the testing goes when they do these sorts of screens. But if they test it and they're like, oh, these testing scores are bad, maybe we'll kick the can on this till after the writer's strike and then, try to make the revisions from there. Or do they just go for it? I mean, the disc father, he's not that much of a hard ass. I mean, he gives you a pretty honest opinion. And, what he's saying is that, it's not really great so far. I'll put up another poll because I'm going to continue talking about this for a while. There's about a 4 months, about 18 weeks until this drops. And I'm curious as to what's going to happen. It would be nice if they got it right. You wouldn't find me complaining, but what have we found out? $400 million for for all three films for the rights to make a trilogy. Friedkin not wanting to have anything to do with it. Ellen Burstyn is coming back. No word about Linda Blair yet, at least that I've heard. I mean, I guess we'll see. Hold on, I think we got some one more article about this. Let me sure. What do we got? This is from Variety. And also, it says, The Exorcist Believer trailer terrifies cinema. It doesn't really tell you any demonic voices and Ellen Burstyn. Okay. So that's not telling me anything. But we'll see what it says. Diners at Las Vegas, many buffets may want to skip the split pea soup. Oh, God. Okay. After they shook the audiences at Caesar's Palace to its core, the rebooted franchise from Universal and Blumhouse debuted its first trailer to the annual convention. So as it's saying, the new saga is led by Tony and Grammy Award winner Leslie Odom Jr. I have no idea who that is. I didn't see Hamilton. I don't like musicals. And Ellen Burstyn. Okay. Chris McNeil. Yeah, blah, blah, blah. The first was good. Early word on the casino floor said the new trailer was the scariest trailer the studio had ever cut, and it delivered, possessing not one but two girls and a franchise restarter that producer Jason Blum said feels fresh and modern. Oh boy, that's a key word. When I see that word, that makes me a little anxious. Modern. Oh boy. Okay. Subtitled The Exorcist Believer. Lydia Jewett and Olivia Markham star as schoolyard pals who go missing in the woods, return to their parents after what they think is hours, but in reality is 3 days. In no time, the girls exhibit strange symptoms and long bouts of staring dead-eyed in the mirror. Oh, boy. That reminds me of the Amityville Horror, where we had to watch Josh Brolin stare into the fireplace for, 15 minutes throughout the movie. Ann Dowd, of course, pops up as a worried nurse, and seriously scary shit starts going down. What the hell is going on with the English language? Well, why can't people write anymore? It becomes clear that both have been taken over by sinister forces, especially in one horrifying scene when Markham storms the church service. Okay, yeah, we talked about this. And the booming demon voice. It struck something primal in audiences around the world. Its depiction of innocence corrupted by something evil, David Gordon Green told the crowd ahead of the footage. Announced nearly 2 years ago, again, $400 million for the new trilogy, with plans for a traditional wide release and an exclusive SVOD window. Oh, I don't know about that. Oh, I don't know. So they're going to also they're going to have a simultaneous release on Peacock. Didn't they do this with the Halloween movies? And they could be cutting themselves out of some money with this. I don't know about this. Along with Blum, David Robinson, via his company Morgan Creek Entertainment, will also serve as producer. Blumhouse executive Cooper Samuelson is executive producer, whatever that means. $400 million. I mean, I don't know about this. I don't know. We've got, like I said, we've got the strike going on right now. Um, it doesn't sound too great. Modern audiences, um, I don't know. There's a difference between making a slasher film, a Halloween film, and doing not just a possession film, but an exorcist film. The expectation is, I'm going to argue that the expectation in a slasher, Halloween, Freddy, Jason, kind of thing, these old franchises, I mean, nobody's really expecting anything. Any reasonable person is probably not expecting anything. If you're making an exorcist film, though, not just a possession movie, because there are tons of shitty possession movies out there. I've seen a lot of them. And some of them are good. You've got, Emily Rose or The Last Exorcism. That's pretty good. You've got that old movie from 1980, Possession, here and there. But this is the highest standard, I would argue. And so when you have something like Exorcist at the beginning that just falls down, people are really disappointed. And I don't know why anyone would give Rennie Harlan, the green light to take on a possession film or an exorcist film, but they did back then, and it fell apart. Then the story was Schrader had made Dominion, and there's no pea soup flying in it. He actually made a movie, like a cinematic film about possession. And there is a bit of an exorcism scene, but it's not pea soup and it's not spinning heads. Again, it's this argument about guilt. Like the devil says, I can take away the thing that you feel most guilty about. If I did that, what would that be worth to you? It's that kind of a question. And apparently Warner Brothers looked at it and said, you're going to have to reshoot this whole thing again. And we need pea soup. We need flying heads. And Paul Schrader, the director, basically told Warner Brothers to go fuck themselves. This is my movie, and I'm not making another one. So the studios and the producers, in their infinite wisdom, brought in Rennie Harlan and wasted another, I don't know how many millions of dollars to make a film that just completely flopped. And now, looking back on it 20 years later, Dominion is actually seen as a critical success. It was never a commercial success. Like I said, they only released it in New York after the Rennie Harlan film flopped. Someone said, well, maybe we should look at this first film that, Warner Brothers said sucked, and people really liked it. So, I mean, you're setting a really high bar for The Exorcist, and I just don't know if this is the guy for the job, especially for $400 million. Holy shit, he better not have Butterfingers. Hold on a second. Echo Cero says, if I remember right, a lot of movies have done the streaming release at the same time as the theater release. Yeah, sometimes they do it. I mean, these movies nowadays, they have a very short theater stay, unless it's like a John Wick 4, unless it's like a Top Gun. I think Evil Dead is still in the theaters. But, I mean, Evil Dead just got released, I think, a couple of days ago on, or it's coming soon to, no, it's already been released on video, digital. And then physical release comes in about 2 weeks. So, I mean, to me, that feels like it takes money out of the theaters, and I don't know. Because, I mean, you could pay one fee for it. Let's say you pay $15.99 and get all your boys or your people together or your family together, and you sit down and, you can all watch it for one fee. At the theater, everybody has to buy a ticket. And especially with ticket prices these days, $15 to $20 a ticket. That's here local in, small little South Jersey where I live. Probably in the big cities, it's a lot more. You're going to lose money. I think that's a big mistake. 4 people sitting on a couch watching it on Peacock for $15 or $20 is not the same as 4 people having to buy a ticket at your local multiplex, spending $80 to $100 for tickets. That's before they buy popcorn or, anything like that. I think that's a big mistake. But I think that these streaming companies are so desperate to try to stay afloat. I think, subscriptions are down, and, a lot of them aren't doing very well, that they're just, tied into these things now. But I think that's a bad financial decision. Hold on. He said Evil Dead Rise. Yeah. Is it June 27th? I thought it was the 13th. Because I'm looking forward to that. But you really have to have a big commercial success to stay in the theaters. Otherwise, these films are done in like 3 or 4 weeks. Especially like these Marvel and Disney movies, these Marvel movies now, the Disney movies, they're on Disney Plus before you know it. And I'm like, holy shit. Like, I think Ant-Man is already on Disney Plus. I didn't see it. I have no plans to see it. I'm not going to see it on Disney. I didn't see it in the theater, but I mean, already dropped to the digital service. So I don't know about this, man. I mean, $400 million. Again, that easily has to be $1 billion. $1 billion. They're going to have to make $1 billion to turn a profit on this. Once you take the marketing into account. And so a lot is going to depend on this first movie hitting it out of the park. Because if the first movie sucks, people are going to be like, and so you might get the horror fans, that always show up no matter what, and so, spend your money the way you see fit. But this has too big of a budget, I think, for even like the hardcore horror fans to carry. You're going to have to bring the normies into the theaters for this. Not for $400 million. So you figure $800 million, with marketing and everything like that. The horror fans can't carry this by themselves. It's going to have to be, a joint effort from everybody. Everybody's going to have to get on board. I don't know. Wow. And especially with the timing now, like I said, with the writer's strike, there's like, I think the disc father was saying, there's no time. Hold on, let me get that back. I just had it here. Here we go. Boom. Yeah, severe pacing. Now this is from, again, 2 weeks ago. Severe pacing, not really scary, bloated. Script could have been tighter. Reshoots and edits can save this by release. Who knows how long this strike is going to last. It may be smart, to just kick the can on this. But if they do that, you ruin the 50th anniversary, because this is 2023 is 50 years of The Exorcist. So you ruin the anniversary date. And my understanding of this writer's strike is that this could very well go on through the fall and possibly until the end of the year. I'm also hearing from other places that there may actually be a SAG strike. The actors may actually go on strike. If that happens, it might be doing this movie, it might be doing this movie a favor. It might be doing this movie a favor, because knowing what I know about David Gordon Green and what I saw with Halloween Kills, wow, they really gave him, they gave him the keys to the city, $400 million. I mean, think about it this way. When Lord of the Rings came out, New Line Cinema was a relatively new company, and they said to Peter Jackson, we're going to give you every penny that we have. We're a new company. We're basically giving you every penny that we have. It was $250 million. Peter Jackson made all 3 of those films for $250 million. And they said, please, if you tank this, our company is going to go under. Please don't have Butterfingers with this. Give us a winner. Give us a winner. You need to hit this one out of the park. And clearly he did. So it is possible to do something like this. I don't know that I'm comparing, I don't know if fair has, you can say, well, that's not fair. But I don't know that fair has anything to do with it. I don't know that I'd compare Peter Jackson to David Gordon Green. I don't see it. I don't see it. So the timing of this, if they're smart, maybe they, kick the can and say, okay, well, maybe we'll release it, next year, something like that. We got to see what the test scores are. I'm curious about something myself. Let me see what those Halloween films, if they actually made any money. 2018. Hold on a second. So let's see. Yeah, here we go. Okay, so let's take a look. There's a great site called The Numbers if you want to know financial information for a film. So worldwide box office was $255 million. 159 million domestically, international 96 million, so about 100 million. And then another 23 million in DVD and Blu-ray sales. I don't exactly know what the budget was for this. Hold on a second. Maybe I can find the. I don't know off the top of my head what. Let's see what Further Financial is. Oh, you can't get that. So I don't know what. The production budget was $10 million. So worldwide box office is 25.5 times. So the first one made money. Okay, so the first one made money. Okay, so maybe that's one of the reasons. All right, so let's take a look at the next movie. So was it Halloween Kills? Jesus Christ, that movie was terrible. Okay, again, another $130 million. 130 million, 92 million domestically, 38 million international, another 6.8 in sales. The budget, 20 million. So 6.5 times. So, okay, so that didn't make nearly as much money. The first one was 25 times the production budget. I mean, we're not including adjusted inflation adjustment domestic box office 92 million. Okay. So yeah, it was 25 times. This was 6.5 times. And what's the other one? Halloween Ends. So they did make money. I didn't see this and I refused to because it's just it's too idiotic. Okay, so 64 million domestic, international 40 million, made a little over 100 million. The budget was 20 million, 5.3. So as each movie went on, you could see why they greenlit him for the trilogy though. That first movie made 20, and it was the best movie of the three. I only saw the first two. I'm not watching the last one. But that first movie, 25 times the production budget, or so maybe 10 times if you add in the marketing, because I did see it overseas as well. You could see why they might greenlight him to make two other movies after that. However, this is 400. Holy shit, 400 million. Hold on a second. Let me see if there is information on this. I don't know. Hold on. What do we know? All right, so worldwide release. The weekend of, there are no numbers. There are no numbers on the budget yet. Any full financial detail? News, box office. Nope, there's no information on it yet. It's in there, but yeah, Marcus Odom, Leslie Odom, I have no idea. Olivia Markham, don't know who that is. Ann Dow, don't know who that is. Peter Statler. Who the hell is Peter Statler? Let me see. Peter Statler. Does he have any? Let's check that out. Peter Statler, IMDb. Let's see what kind of credits this guy has. $400 million. They should have brought in, I don't know who. Peter Statler. Director. No. Well, I'm not exactly sure. but it's not a name that I recognize. So you got David Gordon Green and maybe some. Oh, Peter Sadler. That's what it is. It's Peter Sadler. Okay, let's take a look. Let's see what we got here. Peter Sadler. Yeah, it's the same guy. Where's the Camp X-Ray? Okay, that was the one with Kristen Stewart about Guantanamo Bay. Director, writer. So he wrote, oh man, he's only got one credit. One credit. Peter Statler has one credit, and it is a movie with Kristen Stewart about Guantanamo Bay. Okay, so yeah, that's not looking great, but you can see why they gave Gordon Green the green light for this. They're giving him a lot of money. Is it gonna smack? I don't know. It's I don't know. That first one's gonna have to hit it out of the park. That first one's gonna have to hit it out of the park. I think the hardcore horror fans are going to be there. I'm going to be there. I'm curious about this. I'm curious. I'm not a David Gordon Green fan, if you haven't picked that up. But yeah, for $400 million, he's going to have to hit a grand slam with the first one to carry over into the second one. I mean, let's take a look again. I mean, I think those first couple of movies were making, a little over 100 million worldwide. He's going to have to do a lot better. He's going to have to do at least 3 times better. These movies are going to have to make like 300 million per to break even. Hold on a second. Disney was charging extra at one point for movies still in the theater. Yeah, I get that. But what I'm saying is that if you're ordering it from Disney Plus, you only have to buy it one time, and you can put as many people as you want in the living room. If you go to the theater, like if you have your family over and, your wife or, whoever, and, your friends or, maybe a couple people, you got 5 people, you only have to pay $15 one time. In the theater, that's 5 tickets. That's the difference between $15 and $20 to $75 to $100. So I would have, for this, I wouldn't have had it go anywhere near Peacock for at least, for a while. I wouldn't have brought this anywhere near Peacock for a while. That they're bringing this simultaneously with Peacock, I think that's a bad financial decision. It's going to take a lot of money out of people's pockets because people might not necessarily, like, if you say The Exorcist, the normie is just going to, the hardcore horror fan will probably go. I went to see the first one. Okay. But the normie is just like, I'm not going to see the 12th Halloween movie. I got shit to do. My kids this, and, my wife this, and, my husband that, and, these sorts of things. But The Exorcist is a name, again, that, it's held in higher regard. And so I think people might be willing to compromise. I remember for the 30th anniversary in 2003, I went to see The Exorcist in the theater. It was a multiplex, and it was nighttime, and you had people like me, horror fans, so on and so forth. But you also had a lot of newbies who hadn't seen The Exorcist before, and I remember this specifically. People were sitting there and we're watching the movie, and it's completely enjoyable to watch. If you ever get a chance, and maybe they'll bring it. That would actually be a good idea, and I'll come back to what I was saying. But if you were to actually release the original in the theaters for the 50th anniversary as a warm-up to get people to go to this new film, I think that would fill some butts in the seats. 30th anniversary, I'm sitting there, a couple of kids, are in there, teenagers, whatever, giggling, this, that, and the other before the movie starts. We don't know what this movie's about, blah, blah, blah. When they got to that crucifix scene with her, I distinctly remember those girls got up screaming and ran out of the theater. ran out of the theater. Nobody runs out of the theater in a Halloween movie. Well, they should, because they're usually not very good and ask for your money back. But with The Exorcist, those girls were screaming in terror, running out of the theater. I never forgot that. That was 20 years ago, 2003. Now, for the 50th anniversary, like I said just a couple of seconds ago, if you want my advice, and nobody's asking me, release the 50th anniversary before you do this. Give it, a 2 or 3 week release, right before, end of September, sort of thing. Wet people's whistle for the next one. Put those butts in the seats. People are going to show up for that. I don't know if that's what this is done by Universal. And The Exorcist is from Warner Brothers, so I don't know if Warner Brothers is that smart, or if they're necessarily interested in helping out Universal. But if they could find a way, I don't know if they've purchased all of the Exorcist rights from Universal. I'm going to be doing some more videos on this as time goes by. If they have and they're smart, they're going to release the original Exorcist 2 weeks before that, and then boom, roll the dice, assuming that they're not going to kick the can on this and they're just going to let it go as is. And that would probably work out okay. I think it's a bad idea, again, to release this on Peacock at the same time, though that's going to take money out of people's pockets. Mr. Dan is here. What's happening, Dan? Thanks for stopping by. I'm skeptical, but hopeful it'll be good. Yeah, I'm skeptical too. We'll see how it plays out, man. Hold on a second. We got Patrick here. I'm here for the Shark Exorcist talk. I'm sorry to hear that, Patrick, because you're shit out of luck. That's not going to happen. But in review, I'm going to get ready to wrap it up now. We found out that Universal paid $400 million for the rights to this trilogy. $400 million. So they've given David Green, these other, the 3 Halloween movies that he directed had production budgets of $50 million between the 3. It was $10 million for the first, $20 million for ends, $20 million for kills and ends a piece. So that's $40 million, and then the first one for $50 million. It's $400 million to purchase these rights. We saw the advanced screening from the Disc Father, who says it's not that great. Hold on a second. Yeah, definitely the wrong stream. Watching horror movies in theaters is fun. Some of the best times I've had watching horrors. Yeah, in the theater, man. When I saw Evil Dead 2013, Fede Alvarez, I was in Jakarta, Indonesia, and the lights came back on, and I looked over. I was getting ready to leave, and across the aisle, there was this guy hiding behind his girlfriend. He was so scared. We were dying laughing, and they laughed at it too. But it's a good time. $400 million. $400 million. So $400 million. The production budget and I don't know what the production budget is for this movie. I'm just saying they've already paid $400 million for the rights. $400 million for the rights. That's on top of the production budgets for the films, and they're planning to make 3 films. So this is a big fucking chunk of money. I don't know that this is the guy, man. Like I said, there's a big difference between making just a slasher film and, the 12th slasher film in a franchise and an Exorcist film. The Exorcist is a wholly different creature. And I don't know. I don't know. Again, I'll go over. I'll put this in one more time. No, not this. What the Disc Father said. It's bad. This was 2 weeks ago. He saw an advanced screening. Severe pacing. Overall, not really scary. Bloated. Script could have been tighter. Reshoots and edits may be able to save it. But again, in review, we're in the middle of a writer's strike. There's not going to be any revisions. You're not allowed. I've already found out that they're like, if you're a fan of the Deadpool movies, Deadpool is continuing to be shot right now. But the thing that Ryan Reynolds usually does in a Deadpool movie is he'll improvise lines. He's no longer allowed to do that because of the strike. He has to do everything according to the script. So that's probably not going to be very good, even with Hugh Jackman coming back and a couple of the other X-Men. So right now, how can there be any reshoots? How can there be any revisions to the script? So if we're just going to go as is, I don't know. Wow, it's a lot to think about. Could have gotten the Shark Exorcist for $4,000. You couldn't pay me $4,000 to watch it. 400 million. Yeah, you're looking at $1 billion production. Yeah, $1 billion. $1 billion over 3. And I don't see any horror movie making that much money. I don't see it. I don't see any horror movie making $1 billion. No horror movie has ever done that. No 3 horror movies combined have ever done that. I don't see it. I don't see it, especially, they're going to be streaming it simultaneously with Peacock. I don't see it. Streamers are looking to cut budgets. Read that today. Well, they're going to be streaming this simultaneously for pay on Peacock. So again, that's taking money out of people's pockets. I'm repeating myself here, so that's a sign for me to give it a rest. Chainsaw Massacre turns 50 next year. 2025 Jaws turns 50. Yeah, I think I'm going to see Jaws around the 4th of July. A buddy of mine, a local theater, is going to play it. I saw it for the 40th anniversary. It's fun. It's fun to watch. The backlash against pay streamers is building. They should just keep ticket sales. Patrick, if you got a bunch of people together and had a watch party, you only got to pay that $20 one time. If you go to the theater, everybody has to pay $20. They're going to need to do that to make this money back. I think they've bitten off more than they can chew. I would be happy to be wrong. If I'm wrong, then that means we've got 3 fucking killer Exorcist movies. So, that would be good. But from what I see right now, I don't know. All right, that's it for now. I'm going to keep going with this and following this and dropping some news as it appears with this. I'm also going to be looking at a couple other series that are coming up. One of them is going to be, where are you? There you are. The Friday the 13th teases release window for Peacock's Crystal Lake prequel series. Now, I am not a Friday the 13th fan, so if you're like, what the fuck are you doing, Werewolf? This is, your fucking thing. I am not a Friday the 13th fan. However, no, Danny McBride is not. I'll get to that in a minute. However, A24 is taking this on. And if I'm not mistaken, it's Brian Fuller. And Brian Fuller was the showrunner for Hannibal, which was just one of the most beautiful. No, that's Penny Dreadful. One of just the best things I've ever seen. It's just fucking fantastic. And so if A24 and Brian Fuller are taking on a prequel for Crystal Lake, that could be interesting. So I'm going to be following up on that too. You're asking, is Danny McBride? No, it's somebody who has one writing credit to their name. And it's that movie with Kristen Stewart. Here's the guy. I'll show it to you one more time before I cut this out, because it is getting repetitive, but I understand some people are popping in. And it's a guy named Peter Sattler. And Peter Sattler, he wrote what? Here's his writing chops here. The Exorcist. 9 years ago, he wrote something called Camp X-Ray with Kristen Stewart as a Guantanamo Bay movie. And then he did a short film called Newton. So, I mean, I can't believe that that's the guy they got to write this, along with Gordon Green. So they're writing it together. I don't know about this, man. I don't know. We'll see. Pump for this. A24 can't screw this up. Well, it's already screwed up because, I mean, they can only make it better. Because it's all become so, these endless franchises and sequels have become so absurd And so this is what you get with in a producer-driven Hollywood, just unoriginal shit. However, with Fuller and A24, yeah, they could hit it out of the park because most of the time they do. Most of the time they do. Yeah, I'll give it a chance. I just hope it isn't as bad as a Day of the Dead TV show. Well, I mean, I don't think it will be. Some of these streaming services actually have some decent horror shows on there that I think a lot of people aren't watching. I'm watching one on Paramount Plus right now called Evil, and I think it's halted right now in the 4th season because of the writer's strike. But it's got Mike Coulter, the guy who played Luke Cage on the Netflix Marvel series, and it's fantastic. It's fantastic. There's quite a few good things. There's this slasher series, Slasher Ripper, that I'm probably going to look at. That's supposed to be really good. I'm curious about that. So these streaming services are actually putting out content that a lot of people aren't paying attention to because, horror fans are always talking about the same dry shit. Okay. Well, the guy who wrote that is the guy who's writing this Exorcist trilogy with David Gordon Green. Okay, I've been going on for about an hour now. I'm going to bring this to a close. I will be back tomorrow with Eric from Hey Internet, Eric here. And guess what we're going to be talking about? We're going to be talking about The Exorcist, the Fox series. This is Japanese import. It's the only place I found where you can get both seasons on Blu-ray. We're going to be covering episodes 7 and 8 of the first season, which fucking slaps, with Gina Davis. It's fantastic. Eric, a first-time watcher. That's why I love doing these sorts of series with first-time viewers, because I get to experience it vicariously all over again. And it's just fun. It's fun to get people's first-time reactions. I'm also working on season 2 of Penny Dreadful with the Agoraphobe, but that'll be on Sunday. We're about halfway through that season already, and it's a lot of fun. Okay. Again, back tomorrow, talking more Exorcist, but I'm going to keep on going with this. I'm going to be talking about this A24 series coming to Peacock with Brian Fuller. Maybe I'll start to look at the Slasher Ripper because I'm hearing good things. I'm a Jack the Ripper fan. You know what I mean? So, yeah, good stuff coming from An American Werewolf in New Jersey. Thanks for stopping by, everybody, and I'll see you in the next stream. All right, have a good one.